Start by blooming 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast in 200 grams of lukewarm water. Let that sit for about 10 minutes before mixing 418 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of sugar, 1 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and 1 large egg in the bowl of a stand mixer. Mix until the dough is soft and smooth. Place in a lightly greased bowl, cover with a towel, and let rise for 1 to 2 hours or until it's doubled in size. I like to leave my dough in the microwave for this part. It's not on, of course, duh. Once it's doubled, remove from the bowl and place on a lightly floured work surface and divide into 8 equal pieces. Shape each piece into a small ball. You can build a bit of surface tension by dragging the dough along the inside of your hand and pulling against your work surface. Place all 8 pieces onto a parchment-lined baking sheet and cover with greased plastic wrap. These will rise for about another hour or until they're puffy. Once the little loaves are ready, brush 1 tablespoon of melted butter over the buns and bake at 375 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes or until golden brown. It's a good idea to start the buns before you're ready to make your burgers because you want them to be completely cool before you cut them open. Our burger patties are made from about 60% sirloin and 40% short rib. Start by removing the rib bone from your short ribs. I'll be saving that for stock later, I ain't no fool. Slice each into long 1-inch strips and then cut across the grain to make 1-inch cubes. Both cuts of meat are getting this cube treatment and then placed on a baking sheet because they are headed to your freezer. Cutting the meat this way gives each individual piece more surface area for the cold air in your freezer to contact. This helps the meat firm up fairly quickly without freezing the outside solid. Leave this tray in your freezer for about 25 minutes until the pieces are firm but somewhat pliable. We want this firmness because we're going to be using a food processor to grind the meat. Working in 2 batches, put your little meat cubes in the bowl of a food processor and pulse for 10 to 15 seconds total. The meat should start to resemble ground beef that you've used before, but just a little more crumbly. Remove the first portion, set aside, and repeat with the rest of the beef. Again, pulsing for 10 to 15 seconds total. It doesn't take very much to get this done. Remove the second batch of meat and inspect for any large pieces of gristle or fat that won't grind up. You'll definitely want to take those out of the burger because these burgers aren't cooking long enough to break any of that connective tissue down. Form the meat into 4 equal-sized patties and season with salt. We will add pepper to these burgers, but we'll do it after it's cooked. You cook burgers at such a high temperature, the pepper just tends to burn in the pan. Before you cook the burgers, it's good to prep everything else. I'm starting here with our fry sauce or our special sauce. Mostly equal parts mayonnaise, ketchup, a little bit of mustard, some hot sauce, some black pepper, and a dash of soy sauce. That's the special sauce that I use for every burger that I make. The last bit of prep we have is to dice a medium onion and saute it over medium heat in a cast iron pan. Obviously the onions are optional, but what's a great burger without some grilled onions? The first step in cooking the burger is actually toasting the bun. Let's take a look at the crumb from the bun that we made. We'll butter each side of our bun, put it in our cast iron pan. I like to do this at a medium heat and take my time. This is a great way to get heat starting to build in your pan. You want to add a little bit of oil and crank the heat to high. The burger should sound like this as soon as it hits the pan. You're looking to sear the outside without fully cooking the inside. The sear forms a crust on the meat, which is exactly what you're looking for. You want to preserve it by scraping with the back of your spatula so it doesn't come off from the patty. This patty formed a really great crust, and as soon as you get it flipped over to the other side, you immediately place your cheese on the cooked side. A nice trick to get your cheese to melt is to actually steam it. Just a little bit of water in your pan and then cover with a lid. The cheese will be perfectly melted in about 10 to 15 seconds. After removing from your pan, this is where I finally add the pepper that was missing from before. A little bit of fry sauce on each side of the bun, your grilled onions, and topped with a little bit of pickle. No need for lettuce or tomato. I feel like they both just slide around on the burger and makes it harder to eat. Let's slice the burger open and take a look at this cross section. It's cooked pretty well, very light pink in the middle. It's exactly how you would want a burger cooked.